The morning silence was torn apart by Maria's scream. The sound carried through the stone corridors, sending the snake people into a panic. They rushed to her chambers, their hearts beating fast. Maria stood in the room, her face pale, her hands trembling as she pointed toward the figure in the corner, Mambo. He was hunched over, his body drenched in sweat, his breaths coming in shallow, uneven gasps. It was clear he hadn't slept, not even for a moment. Maria's voice quivered as she explained, "He's been sick all night. Now he won't stop scratching his head. I thought he would stop. Now he is getting worse." Mambo clawed at his head, his nails raking against his scalp, as though trying to dig something out. His movements were desperate, wild, like a caged animal desperate for escape. Eli entered, his heart sinking at the sight of his brother. "Mambo!" he called. "Brother, what's gotten into you?" He knelt beside him, gripping his shoulders, trying to shake him back to reality. But Mambo's eyes were distant, glassy, as if he wasn't there with them anymore. His hands continued to scratch at his head, the sound of nails scraping skin filling the room. Then, without warning, he began slamming his head against the wall. Once, twice. Over and over, the sickening thud filled the chamber. You are watching the Tales of the Savannah. Subscribe and be part of the tribe. Now let's get back to the story. "Stop him!" Eli shouted, his voice desperate. "Tie him up before he hurts himself." The others hesitated, frozen by the sheer terror of the scene unfolding before them. Finally, two men stepped forward, ropes in hand, and restrained Mambo, binding his hands and feet as he thrashed and screamed. "What's happening?" one of them asked, his voice trembling. Eli's mind raced as the warning surfaced, the prophecy.
"Mine will be the last blood you will ever drink, for it will turn poison. It will drive you mad until you destroy yourselves."
Eli looked at Mambo, who was now writhing against his bindings, his head lolling side to side. His brother had drunk the blood of the old man. Maria's voice broke through his thoughts. "Oh, what do we do, Eli? What do we do?" Eli straightened, his face grim. "Spread the word to the snake people in all corners of the world," he commanded. "No one hunts," he declared. "No one drinks the blood from the people again. Not a drop of blood, not a single life. The curse is real, and it will destroy us all." Eli turned back to his brother, who lay bound and convulsing violently on the floor. "Mambo! Mambo!" Maria screamed, and then Mambo stopped. The curse had been awakened, and it had claimed its first victim. Eli knelt on the ground next to his brother, his heart shattered into pieces. He had lost two brothers almost within the same day, and now he had no choice but to lead the snake people into a battle with an enemy he knew so little about. Cabo the Great stood tall in the heart of the forest. Around him the hunters moved with purpose. The training grounds had come alive. Arrows zipped through the air, striking their wooden targets with thuds. Spears flew, slicing through the wind, landing closer to their marks with each throw. Cabo's eyes scanned the scene, and for a moment a small smile crept across his face. Not long ago, these men and women had been clumsy, like children taking their first steps. Their bulky muscles had been more of a hindrance than a weapon, their movements awkward and unfocused. But now, they were beginning to transform. Their aim was sharper, their steps lighter, their bodies faster. Cabo could see it, the beginnings of a disciplined force. But they weren't there yet, not even close. Cabo's smile faded, replaced by the stern, calculating expression of a leader burdened with the weight of what lay ahead. The battle against the snake people. The snake people were ruthless, cunning, and terrifyingly quick. If his hunters had any hope of winning, they had to push themselves harder. They had to become more precise, more coordinated. They had to be unstoppable. He walked among them, his commanding presence silencing whispers and sharpening focus. Cabo's voice boomed through the clearing like thunder. "You've come far," he said, his words deliberate and heavy. "But far isn't enough." The hunters paused, their eyes on him. "We are not the hunted anymore," he continued. "We no longer hide in caves, cowering in fear. Those days are behind us. We are hunters now. Warriors, and warriors do not fail their goddess." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. "The snake people will not show us mercy. If we are not better than them, faster, stronger, smarter, we will fall. He stepped closer to the nearest hunter, a young man whose breathing was still ragged from the training. Cabo placed a firm hand on his shoulder. You, he said, locking eyes with him, will be the one they fear in the dark. He turned to the others. And you, he pointed to a woman sharpening her spear, will strike so swiftly they won't know they've been hit. The energy in the clearing shifted. The hunters felt the sting of running for their lives, living in caves, avoiding the snake people, and succumbing to diseases. But now they were ready to reclaim their place in the world. Cabo let the silence linger before delivering his final words. We are the people's last hope. We must protect their honor, their freedom, their future. The hunters stood taller. They had no choice but to win the battle ahead. As Cabo turned back toward the dense forest, he allowed himself a fleeting moment of pride. But the snake people would not be easily defeated. And Cabo the Great knew the hardest days were still ahead. Tendai lay flat on the ground, his body still, his eyes fixed on the stars above. Around him the air pulsed with energy. The forest was alive, its heartbeat beating beneath him like a steady drum. The guardian of the forest loomed over him, her presence ancient and powerful. She began to sing a haunting melody, an old song carried through generations. Zoro and Sia knelt a short distance away, their heads bowed, their faces tense. They knew what this ritual meant, not just for Tendai, but for all of them. Tendai's heart grew heavy with sadness. The snake within him wasn't just a curse, it was a part of him. It had been there from birth. But tonight, he had made his choice. He would let the snake go. He would become a hunter, like his father and grandfather before him. There was no world where he could be both. A bitter thought surfaced as the guardian chanted, "Why should I honor her?" The memory of his mother stung. She left me. Why should I care about the snake she passed to me? His jaw tightened, bitterness hardening in his young heart. The guardian spoke, her words ancient and commanding. The wind shifted, swirling around them. It wasn't just wind anymore. It was the voice of the god of the forest. It spoke through the leaves, through the rustling branches.
I approve the binding of the snake for 7 generations,
the forest god declared.
But after that, it will return, as promised.
Tendai gasped as the snake inside began to move, its presence thrashing in his veins, fighting against the ritual. Pain tore through his body. His muscles tensed, his fingers clawing at the dirt beneath him. The snake didn't want to leave. The snake wanted to stay. The guardian raised her voice. "Do not harm the boy," she commanded, her tone like thunder. "We do not seek to destroy you, only to preserve you. You will have your time again, bigger, stronger. But tonight you must let the boy live as a hunter." Tendai convulsed, his body writhing as if caught in an invisible battle. He felt the snake's transformation coming at him, but it was just out of reach. The snake's power surged, twisting his insides. "Leave him," the guardian roared, her voice booming through the clearing, "or you will be banished forever." Then Tendai let out a scream. From his body, the snake emerged, shimmering and translucent, rising into the air like a specter. Tendai's body stopped suddenly, and a silence fell over the forest. Zoro and Sia's eyes widened as they watched. The guardian wasted no time. She stepped forward, her hands steady as she raised a small pot. With swift precision, she trapped the snake inside and slammed the lid shut. "The snake has been bound," she declared, her voice calm yet firm. She turned to Zoro and Sia, holding the pot. "The boy is free." The 2 men exhaled, their shoulders sagging in relief. Still, worry lingered in their eyes as they glanced at Tendai's motionless body. The guardian noticed. "Do not fear," she said gently. "He is alive. He just needs rest. You may return for him tomorrow. There are still things I must finish with him." Zoro hesitated, but Sia placed a hand on his shoulder, nodding. The 2 men stood and bowed before retreating into the darkness of the forest. The guardian turned back to Tendai, who now drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep. The future had been sealed. The snake would remain hidden for 7 generations, its curse waiting to awaken in someone else. But for now, Tendai was free. She placed the pot in a secure place. If she didn't live to see the fulfillment of the 7 generations, the next guardian would know what to do. Tendai's breathing slowed, his body finally at peace. The battle was over, for him at least, but somewhere deep in the shadows of the forest, the god's words lingered.
The snake will return.
Amina knelt in the heart of the forest, a book in her hands. The old pages were worn, the ink faded in places, but she traced the words carefully, her heart pounding. This was no ordinary task. She was about to summon the snake goddess. Her fingers paused over a warning in bold letters. Only summon her if it is absolutely necessary. It was a caution left by Black Rose, but necessity had brought Amina here. This was no time for hesitation. She took a deep breath and whispered the ancient incantation. The air around her began to twist, a whirlwind materializing out of nothing. The wind roared, carrying the scent of earth and decay. From within the vortex, a figure stepped forward, her form shimmering with an otherworldly glow. The snake goddess stood tall, her presence both terrifying and beautiful. Her eyes locked onto Amina, and a sly smile graced her lips. "You have summoned me, Amina," she said, her voice smooth and melodic. "How may I serve you?" Amina stammered, struggling to find her words. It was one thing to summon the goddess, but another to stand before her. Goddess," she began, "we've captured Jengo, the leader of the hunters. I don't know what to do. The people say we should end his life, but I feel differently." The goddess tilted her head, listening intently as Amina poured out her heart. "I want revenge for the lives we've lost," she confessed, "but I also dream of peace. A peace where my people can thrive, where we can build a future. I came to you for guidance." The snake goddess smiled, pride flickering in her eyes. "It is wise to seek counsel," she said, "but even I cannot tell you what to do. The gods forbid me from influencing your choice. You must form a council, a group of trusted people, who will help you decide on important issues in the future. Whatever path you take, Amina, I will stand with you. Your decision will be my decision." Before fading back into the whirlwind, the goddess left Amina with a final piece of advice. "Visit the guardian of the forest. She expects you. If Kwame survives the duel, take him with you. He has favor with the spirit of the forest. And bring her a gift. She has a fondness for homemade beer. It will soften her heart." Then, just as suddenly as she appeared, the goddess vanished, leaving Amina to face the weight of the choices ahead. Jengo and Kwame circled each other, swords drawn. Amina watched, her heart beating fast. This duel was meant to decide the future, to let the gods choose between hunter and snake. She nodded to Lunga, signaling the start. "May the fight begin," Lunga shouted. The clash of steel rang through the clearing as the two warriors charged. Jengo's attacks were fierce, calculated, but Kwame was quick, moving with a grace that seemed almost unnatural. He wasn't attacking, only defending. "Transform into the snake, Kwame," Jengo shouted. "A snake must fight a hunter." Kwame's jaw tightened, his grip on the sword unwavering. "No," he said, "I'll fight you as a hunter, because I am one." "You are not a hunter," Jengo roared. For Kwame, the sting of those words was sharper than any sword. He had hoped for Jengo's approval, yearning for the man he saw as a father to see him as more than a curse. The fight raged on, but it became clear that Kwame was unmatched. It was as if the snake within him and the hunter's instincts had fused into something extraordinary. Jengo fought fiercely, but he couldn't keep up. "Finish him!" the snake people hissed from the sidelines. "End him!" But Kwame didn't. He couldn't. This was the man he admired, the first figure in his life who had earned his respect. Kwame could not take Jengo's life, even if it meant betraying his people's expectations. Kwame stepped back, dropping his sword to the ground. "That's it," he said, his voice steady. "I won't fight you anymore. Your blood will not stain my hands. If your life must end, it won't be by me." The snake people erupted in anger. "Traitor!" they cried. "Finish him!" But Kwame stood firm, his head bowed, He knelt before Jengo, offering himself instead. "Take my life," Kwame said. "If a death is required, let it be mine." Jengo froze, his sword trembling in his hands. Rage and confusion boiled within him. Kwame, the symbol of the snake people he had spent his life fighting, was now kneeling before him, offering his life willingly. Jengo's mind raced. Could he end this man? Could he truly strike down someone who had fought with such honor? The sword clattered to the ground as Jengo fell to his knees. He reached out, pulling Kwame into an embrace. Tears streamed down both their faces as they wept, a bond forming in the unlikeliest of moments. The snake people gasped in disbelief, their whispers filling the clearing as they turned to their queen. Amina stood frozen, watching the two men, not knowing how to respond. She didn't have the answers, not in that moment, but one thing became undeniably clear. The future of their world had just shifted, in a way no one could have foreseen. Above, the god of the universe, the snake goddess, hunter goddess, watched in silence, their eyes fixed on the unfolding scene. Even they, it seemed, were taken aback, uncertain what to make of this moment. The gods do not always look into the future. They prefer the drama, the thrill of watching events unfold in real time. After all, what's the fun in knowing everything? For them, the beauty lies in the unpredictability, in the choices of mortals shaping the course of destiny. And now they too watched, holding their breath, as the story continued to write itself. And that, my dear tribe members, is the end of yet another episode in our series. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you're joining us for the first time, make sure to watch these two videos to catch up from the very beginning. The madness has claimed its first life, the snake has been bound, and hunter and snake have shared an unexpected, transformative moment. What was your lesson of the day? Share it with me in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and remember, blood does not lie. It keeps an accurate record. And as always, thank you for watching our story, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time in the Savannah.